Welcome, everyone. Today's guest has taken a path that very few would dare, beginning her career as a physician before making a very bold decision to leave medicine behind and step into the world of contemporary art. She is now the founder of Silver Lens Galleries, where she has spent about 2 decades championing Filipino and Asian diaspora artists on the global stage. Let's explore the courage it takes to reinvent yourself, the decisions that shape a life, and what it really means to go beyond the case. Isa, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you, Sohin. All good, all good. I'm very happy to be here. Happy to see you after what? It's been now 6 months, maybe?
Months. Yeah,
Yeah, wow, it's flown by. Yeah, all
absolutely.
good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And Isa, I don't think I spoke a lot to you during Unit 1. We didn't interact a lot. So I think this is a great opportunity for me to learn more about you, for the listeners as well. And yeah, so I just wanted to start off by asking you, you started your career as a physician in Philippines.
Yes. So what
So
happened?
yeah, what drew you to medicine in the first place?
Well, medicine, in when I was in school, in high school, there wasn't a lot of opportunity to study art. So it was a very traditional background. If you were good at math or the sciences, you got immediately sent to medical school, or you were sort of put on that track for medical school or for some I would say professional, career professional job. I come from a family of doctors, and I just thought it was a good life, and I decided to try and go for it. And I got accepted into the College of Medicine, the University of the Philippines College of Medicine, which is probably the most prestigious medical school. It is also the cheapest because it's fully subsidized by the government. Um, so I was accepted, and I decided, okay, this is it. This is what I'm going to do with my life. Fast forward, so that was 1991. I started my undergrad as a biology student in 1991, and then I moved into medical school in 1995. That was 5 years. So I graduated in the year 2000 with my medical degree. In that time, the more I was in the system, I realized that my heart was not into patient care. When we got into the clinics in the third year of proper, there was so much patient care. And I remember being incredibly busy, incredibly exhausted, but very, very bored and also unhappy. Also, at that time, we had a tragedy in my life. I lost my father. He was quite young, and I realized that my God, life is too short. And he was a very generous man. He was able to, he made his own. He was self-made. He made his own career in agriculture, and he was able to make some money. And so he told me on his deathbed that he told me straight out, I know you don't like what you're doing. You're not happy. And don't worry, when I'm gone, you can, you can figure it out. Look for it. Look for what that one passion is, or that passion is, and then go for it and try and be the best at it. So it was an incredible, generous spirit of his. First, for a father to tell his daughter, you don't need to be a doctor. And then second, to say, well, and then we will have a little bit of seed money for you to figure it out. So that's what happened. That was in 1997. I still had 3 years of med proper left. I decided to finish it as a backup in case whatever this new career didn't work. It was also on the recommendation of my very, very practical mother, who said, "What are you gonna do? You can't just you can't just drop this because you've already put in at that point 7 years." So I took her advice, finished it, and then as soon as I finished it in 2000, I retired. I took the boards, a medical board, so I'm board certified. And then once I got my license, I retired. So that's what happened.
So you retired after you achieved the dream of most medical students of being board certified, and you were at the pinnacle at that point, and you decided to walk away from
Yes.
life.
Yes. It was actually, once the decision had been made, and I'm sure many of you, many of us have had this decision wherein when we reach a tough decision, everything becomes easier, even if it's a difficult decision. So what I mean by that is when I decided that I was not going to practice, I really enjoyed my time in hospital because it was almost like this is the
Liberate.
last time I don't need to do this. So I'm just gonna have a lot of fun. So I enjoyed it, and really the most impactful 5 years of my life to date was medical school.
And then how did you identify the next opportunity for you or where your
The
passion
next
lies?
opportunity, it was really, I knew I wanted to go into something creative. I wanted to go into media, so either film or TV, even publishing, something creative, something that had to do with supporting creatives. I thought I wanted to be a creative, I wanted to be an artist, or I wanted to be someone who was sort of the creative element of that infrastructure. But I realized that I was much, much better at admin. I think all the my training as a doctor, organizational skills, professional skills, structural skills, infrastructure. Yeah, I had all of that. So I went back to art school. But it's a combination of theory and practice. So I went to school here at Parsons School of Design here in New York. I did a master's degree in media and photography at the new school. And I worked part time for art galleries here in New York, and I also worked as a teacher's assistant at the International Center of Photography. And that's really where I dipped my foot into the museum world and the art world, and I just thought it was fascinating that you enter these spaces, these very grand spaces, and it's filled with all these treasures, and these treasures did not walk in there by themselves. There's a whole system that keeps this infrastructure, that keeps this world going, and I wanted to be a part of that. I was here from 2000 until 2004. In 2004, I wanted to open up an art gallery, but New York was not ready for, well, somebody like me. So I was not the right kind of Asian. I was not the right gender. I was not the right, I just was not, I was absolutely invisible in 2004. So I went home to Manila and I opened the gallery there. So I opened Silver Lens in April 2004, which is now 22 years ago. And that's the only job I've had since. And we opened in Singapore. We had a gallery in Singapore. Silver Lens had a gallery in Singapore from 2012 to 2016. It was not a successful enterprise, but it was incredibly a huge learning one. As we know, when we fail, we learn more. And then that sort of led us up to opening up a gallery here in New York into 2022. So now I have galleries in Manila and New York. And as you said, we work with Filipino and Southeast Asian and Asian diaspora artists. And we have these two footprints, but we also do a lot of shows all around the world through art fairs and collaborations with other galleries and museums. So, yeah, that's it.
Why do you think New York was not ready for someone like you? And also, after the business did not fare so well in Manila, you decided
No,
to,
in Singapore. The,
in
the business
Singapore,
did
sorry,
okay in Manila. It was in Singapore
in
that it
Singapore,
wasn't.
you decided to start in New York.
Yeah.
Why not quit at that point?
So the way my business works is my primary partners are artists. So I am their agent. So we have about 32 artists from all over the world that we are the exclusive agents or dealers for. So my job is to look for markets for these artists. And these artists, over the course of the 20 some years, some of them we've had since the beginning. We've been working with them for 20 years. Some of them we've had for 3 years. So we're constantly looking for markets for them, audiences for them. So audiences and then markets, meaning clients, collectors, whether they be private collectors or museums, institutions who buy work. So it's sort of the business is more, it's, I guess it's less commodity, it's more relationships, right? So even if it didn't work, let's say in Singapore, it doesn't mean that it was an absolute failure, because what the footprint in Singapore gave us is it gave us sort of a gateway to the rest of Southeast Asia and to infrastructure systems and collections that are interested in buying art from the Philippines. It's just not a lot of buyers, but they are important buyers. So the market is small, but we've managed to grow, to keep that market and grow it, in the 10 year, now at 14 years since we opened that space. So we continue to do work there. We just don't have a brick and mortar space. So every single institution, museum, well, let's say in the States or pretty much anywhere in the world, they need a Southeast Asian collection in their inventory or in their within their institutions, within their collections. Because as you know, the Asian diaspora is huge. I mean, we are part of this, right? So this Asian diaspora wants to see itself in these global institutions. So what does that mean? If a high school student from New Delhi walks into the Met Museum and they see, an Indian master, modernist, they are painting, they would be incredibly proud. And this begins sort of a conversation or engagement with art and with the Met, and sort of being part of that bigger system. And that will drive audiences to go into the Met, especially from the diaspora, which is a whole new audience which they need, right? So it's a very long game, Sohin. But yeah, so that's what we do. And with regards to uh yeah, that's why failure doesn't necessarily mean failure. It doesn't mean it's we should shift or quit or transition. It just means that it's not the right time.
Was your thinking this clear when you were going through the journey where, you felt your Singapore numbers may not be as per expectation?
Well, yeah, especially when your bank account is telling you it's time to go, right? Yeah. I mean, of course there's a lot of there's a lot of learning and wisdom that I've acquired over the years with regards to what we do, especially since there's no playbook. There's no case study for what I'm doing. But there are successful gallerists from all over the world who've been doing this for decades. So I sort of, you know, with one eye on what I'm doing and then one eye on what all of these people who've gone before me have done. A lot of it is, I know them personally, or it's anecdotal from people who've worked with them. But it's really, it's a very exciting life. Every day is different. I meet people from all kinds of people from all over the world, all doing different things. And it's kind of crazy how much fun it is. Yeah, and then OPM. Why am I an OPM?
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
Why are you an OPM?
because when Singapore failed first for us, when Singapore did not work out in 2016, I really thought, wait a minute, there must be something. There is a chip that I'm missing. I went, I spoke to several friends, and I was asking them, I guess like career people, I don't know, accountants and engineers and business people about what can I do to improve my business. And I said, I want to go back to school, but I'm too old and I don't have the time to do an MBA. So one of them, one kind friend who was a graduate of one of the Harvard continuing education programs at HBS, he told me, you know what, you should go and do something at Harvard. And he said, and even if you don't, even if you are not in that mindset to learn, it's a mindset to take a break and just sort of be amongst people who are just as passionate and committed as you are. So that was in 2016. So yeah, now fast forward, the we all had to deal with the pandemic. Then in last year, around yeah, I would say maybe beginning of last year, I just decided to go onto the website. I'd never gone into the website before. I went into the website, I looked at all the programs, and I thought, okay, this one. So that's it. That's it. And here we are. I've never taken a business course in my life. So my God, so and I struggled through that accounting,
Yeah.
those modules of accounting. It was like this is the reason why I work in art. But yeah, so I'm in the OPM program. Happily so. I signed on so that I could learn a little bit about business and about how money can make money. And but I've gotten so much more out of it, which is, super special.
Do you think your background as a physician helps you in some way in the way you operate your business?
Yes, definitely. Our business is very structured. Everything is scheduled. All the artists have files like they were patients, and all my clients have files like they were patients. So there's a lot of data that we've gathered over the 2 decades about all of this. And the training is it's very structured. It doesn't feel like you're working in an art gallery. It kind of does feel like you're working in a very very structured place.
From Unit 1 at OPM, what would be some of the takeaways that you still find yourself revisiting?
Yeah, well, I mean, when I got home or when I got back to my real life, as I'm sure everybody else did, you sort of sit down and think, wait, what was that? Then I went through all my notes. I went through sort of highlights from each of our amazing professors, tried to put them into a, a chart for my own life and sort of move them into the different categories. So one thing I really took away was to hire people who are overqualified and pay them more. So that has actually given me a lot more time because I have better people. And it was good because I was also about to start on a not a restructuring, but sort of an expansion. So it worked. So that's one. The second thing would be a higher purpose. I know on our last day it was a day full of lectures from all of the superstar professors and basically telling us why are you doing this? Or asking us why are you doing this? What is your higher purpose? Yeah, that's something that I think about every day and I try and apply. Yeah, I think these are two big things that I've taken from it.
I do feel like you are a mission driven entrepreneur. And I'm wondering how you're going to approach your purpose once you're done with Unit 3. I'd be very
Yeah.
interested to find out, how your approach towards I wouldn't call it business because I don't think you look at this as a business, but towards
The
how you're
business.
interacting with.
Yeah. It's more and more. I mean, when I, so in just when I told my family I was gonna do this, they looked at me like I was an alien. Like, what is that? Especially, from the Philippines. We are not, art is not very highbrow, but it's not essential. Not in that way. However, this is the reason why there was such a big blind spot. There was a need for this. There's a need for what we're doing. So yeah, so what's gonna happen? I don't know. I feel like the other thing that OPM has done for me is to think about how to make money as an art gallery without having to sell art. So that's sort of my project that I when we had what was it when we all sort of had to present something.
Yeah, OPM Idol.
Yeah, OPM Idol. So mine is something about that, about all the other support services that that art needs that nobody does. So
Amazing. How do you look at digital art? I've been hearing a lot about digitization of art, and I'm wondering, what a gallery owner like you thinks about that format.
I think digital art. Okay, so there's video art. There's there were these like NFTs like maybe 4 years ago, which have completely bombed. Digital is just another medium. It would be like painting or sculpture or drawing or photography or you know sound installation. So it's just another medium. It has definitely gotten bigger. The artists that we work with who do work in that tech space or digital space, video space, installation space, they have been doing this even before it became a thing. So it was like they were already doing this, sort of playing with technology. That's how I would so there are artists, I would call them, they would be more artists who work with technology rather than digital artists. Their buyers tend to be museums. They're not a lot, but I wouldn't jump on the bandwagon because it's not there yet, or it's there but it's not going to be this next big thing. I think next big things tend to be more gaps in history, in art history. So for example, we are the only Southeast Asian gallery here in New York, and we work with a lot of museums who are trying to fill the gaps in their collections because they don't have any artists from these regions from where we come from. So that's sort of, and we're the only ones doing it. So it's like, it's amazing how we have that whole space, right? So yeah, I would look at regions rather than media.
Anissa, now if you could go back in time to your younger self, looking at the journey from medicine to arts, what advice would you give your younger self today?
I would tell myself to enjoy my life more. I think I was a very serious, I was a student. I was very diligent. I was very serious. I did all the homework. I did everything. And I realize now that I didn't need to. I think school is good to teach you, young school, like, I don't know, grade school, high school, elementary, high school, college. It's good to teach you sort of foundational skills. Normally, I mean, foundational meaning how to communicate. I think that's all you need to learn in school. It's like how to communicate, how to read, how to speak, how to write, how to how you put your ideas across. And if you learn how to do that in school, then you're going to be amazing. So yeah, I wish I enjoyed more.
My last question is there any book that you've read which has influenced the way you think you maybe want to share with us?
Yeah, let me think. Well, one of my favorite books, actually a book that really sort of rocked my world, is called it's a nonfiction book. It's a history book actually. It's called How to Hide an Empire, and
Hide an Empire?
How to Hide an
Wow.
Empire. And it's about the US, how the US built its empire through history, through bases, and not through colonization, but through territories. It's very interesting. It's by Daniel Immerwahr. So that's one. So I read a lot. So that's one book that sort of stayed with me. I took my time to read it. It took me a year to read it because I was just so, like, I didn't want the book to end. And then I still have it. I recommend that book to any migrant who is in the United States to read that book. And then I also read a lot of nonfiction. So I love a lot of Scandinavian detective books.
Joe Nespro, is it?
Yes, love Joe Nesbo. Yeah. So yeah.
I love
Do
the
you?
Scandinavian culture and all. My daughter goes to a Scandinavian school actually.
Uh,
And it's, yeah, sorry to take some bandwidth here, but it's on the same philosophy that you touched on, right? That school is just play and expression, learn how to communicate, right? Explore your surroundings, internalize it, and then
yeah,
find a way to build on your curiosity.
exactly. And curiosity is a very big word. for me. I mean, that's the driver of my life. I'm endlessly curious, and I will hunt an answer down as far as I can, as far as I can find it. So yeah, curiosity, enjoy, and be curious. Just don't die in the process.
Very nice, Isa. Thank you so much for your time. This is a podcast I'll find myself listening to a few times.
Yeah,
I think you've packed
good.
a lot of your life lessons in this, a lot of wisdom.
Yeah.
It feels like take the shot, the lecture we heard,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Because he,
always.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, nothing ventured, nothing gained. So you got to do it. And if you don't, if you fail at it, doesn't mean you failed. And the other thing I realized is people who are, I mean, how many times do you win, right? You don't win. You maybe if you win once out of, I don't know, once out of 50 times, or maybe for the super successful people, one out of 20 times, that's amazing. But it's in the trying, right? It's in the trying. And even like coming into the HBS OPM program, I'm like, when I saw the stack of readings we needed to do, I was like, oh my god, like, where is the door? Get me out of here. But we did it. It may seem like easy to the people who've done their MBAs, but it's hard. It's hard to think about. Not just to read it, but to think about what these things are telling you. Because it's easy to read, but it's like, what does this mean? Right? So yeah.
Where is your art gallery in New York for anyone who's listening if they want to visit?
Yeah, so the gallery we're called Silver Lens. We exist on site in New York at 24th Street between 10th and 11th Avenues. We're right across the car wash in Chelsea. We have a beautiful standalone building. We open shows maybe every 6 weeks. So I'm actually here in New York because we have an opening on May 14th by an artist from the northern mountains of the Philippines whose name is Kawayan de Gia. And then we also have a footprint. Our big base is in Manila, in Makati City. If anyone is coming, we also do art fairs around the world. So we do Art Basel Hong Kong, Art Basel Basel, Art Basel Miami Beach. Sometimes we'll do Freeze. We might do Freeze London this year. I'm not sure yet, but yeah. And we're on Instagram. We have a whole media team on Instagram. So Silverlands Galleries. So please follow us there.
Good. Thank you, Isa, very much for your time. I wish you well, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you, Sohin, and I'll see you soon.
See you soon.
All
Bye.
right. Bye bye.